Party people, welcome back to MVM. Today I'm here with a preview for Vrahode by Weathervane Games. 1 to 4 player game. You're going to be able to play over these, I think, 30 scenarios. They take about 60 minutes at tops. The ones that I played, at least, probably can go to 75 minutes if you start adding more characters. I've played three-handed. That's usually where it lands, a 60 minute less, maybe a little bit over. And you're in this fantasy world. You're playing as these warriors, and it's kind of got that old school feel, roll to resolve, dice modifiers, and that. But then it's got a lot of this new school stuff that separates it as well. So it's like if you like, you know, a combination of folklore, but then you like newer stuff, like let's say Massive Darkness, like you like kind of like a mesh of these different things, or Kenfire Chronicles, like you just like meshes of stuff. This game has some of that DNA. It has some of it that's old, but it makes its own way. And that's why I'm showing it to you today, because that's what I found interesting about this game. Let's go ahead and take a look what this game has to offer on the boards. Well, before we get to the boards, I wanted to show you this here. These missions are played on these cards here, or I don't know how you say it, page board, cardboard. They're thin like this, foldable. There's several of them. On these things, you're going to have missions or scenarios. They're going to have maybe a part A and a part B. You're going to be playing out 1 to 2 scenarios on the same board, and then you'll have some rewards. Some of them can be unlocked by getting to certain slots, some things you need to be on terrain and things like that. This is not a heavy miniatures game, so pretty much everything is on the art that's on there. And there you go, you're off. So let's go ahead and take a look at this real quick. As you can see, we've already kind of in the middle of something here. I've always set up myself in these fake scenarios, what I call them fake scenarios, where I've added things, got awesome weapons, all that kind of stuff. I sort of did that with this one. So if I seem like I'm cheating and you're like, dude, this guy's doing some pretty interesting stuff, that's because I cheated. I got some extra stuff. All right, I want to show you the cool stuff in the game. All right, so what are we doing here? I'm going to start with the characters. We have 2 characters here, Witch and Clarion. So all these characters have their own kind of a little bit of backstory, but they have their own race traits. And right now we're in a forest, so the race traits for Torlin have to do with, one, he can't be knocked down, but since it's in the forest, he's going to have mitigation. And mitigation is your defense in the game. So they'll also have these racial abilities that they can use during their turn, and we'll talk about how that's used, but for right now, actually I'll leave that out. And then we have Clarion. Clarion is actually like you can fly, he's actually got wings, and by the way, these miniatures, they look really cool, and there's not a lot of them. I have most of them, if not all of them, out right now, except for 2. So there's not a ton of miniatures in this game. So yeah, we got all these different race traits and abilities, but all these stats you see are over here. So you have your body, which is for attacking physical melee attacks, focus, which is going to be for ranged attacks, and then you have your spirit, mind, and presence. And the spirit will help you with, if you roll against it, you get rerolls. Mine is you get to resist an attack. And then presence has to do with exchanging these initiative tokens, which we're about to get to. But you have your stats for your health, your movement, and fatigue. And there's a fatigue mechanic in here that helps you with dealing with the initiative thing in here as well. Mitigation is going to be your defense, and then the amount of skills you can have. You're going to have skills on the right side of your board. These are the ones you get initially. They're on your player card right there, as well as your initial stuff. I'll talk about these in a minute. But then you also have the equipped weapons, which are inside of here. And then you also have stuff in your backpack, which is inside here like that. I think this is actually pretty neat, by the way. I don't know. I thought at first I thought it was kind of irritating, and then I was like, oh, this is actually pretty neat. Be interesting to see what the final version of this looks like, but it's kind of worn on me. So, all right, we'll put these back in. I should also mention there's this resource called Rule. Rule is like, it's like magic points. Kind of think like an RPG, like let's say Final Fantasy, like you're using this material or whatever it is to initiate this magical spells or weapons or skills and stuff like that, and you're using it to kind of expand yourself a little bit and do something cool. Just to give you an idea how this works. Some of the stats that you're going to have, I have some standard weapons here. They're going to have base damage, and then also your armor is going to give you mitigation, plus some territories based on the player, the player's race will also get mitigation. So I only have 1 for my leather armor, but I also have +1 because I'm in the forest. With this guy, I have 2 +2 here, and that's 4, so then I know I can take 4 damage. I block 4 damage. Now in this scenario, we're facing off against these Thunderhorns, and the Thunderhorns, there are 2 of them, and they're really trying to barge and run after us. And a lot of these enemies have different things that they'll try to do. These guys will try to run and knock us over. There's birds that come flying down, and I think they're going to have minis that like fly, like literally are like low flight and high flight or something like that. I think I saw that when I was at Gen Con, so they give like an actual representation of flight because flying is a big deal in this game too. So what are we doing on our turn? Okay, very, very easy stuff. You're going to have these dice here. You're going to roll a d20, and you're also going to roll a modifier. What are you looking for? Well, if you are doing a basic attack, you're going to be rolling this, and you have your body, which is melee. I'm in melee range with them. I will be attacking with them. But first, before we do all that, I just skipped part of the whole part of the game, and that is pulling these initiative tokens. There are 12 in the game. At the beginning of the round, you will pull for your team, and then the other. Yes, all right, dog it. Okay, so we're going to have a little bit of breakup here in this, so let's go ahead and see what happens on our turn. We can move up to our move, which is on the card, but once again, we can't attack. Now, we can attack from range if we have a ranged weapon. I do happen to have a short bow, but I don't have it out. I'm using this handed axe right here. And Rich is kind of a Rich is kind of a sneaky character, but I've been kind of buffing him to be used as an attack character, just kind of straight up attack, although I should probably be doing it from range. I'm not going to do it. But the other things that I have other than just running up and attacking is I can use one of my race traits, so I can basically turn my I have a thorny disposition. Each successful melee attack on this here causes 1 damage to the attacker, can't be mitigated. Or I can use something to add +1 and +1 damage and +1 range. So if I wanted to do the archer thing, I can do that. And then I have Clarion here, who can, if I'm in the Underland, I get +1 mitigation, and you add bleed to melee attacks. So there's some really cool little traits there. So I can use one of those, or I can use rule to make one of my skills here. So you have quite the quite the range of choices that you can make. But I'm just going to show you a regular attack. So let's go ahead and go with, so we'll go here. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to attack this guy. We're going to kind of ambush him a little bit, and we roll our die. What am I trying to roll against? Well, my body is 10. I will roll against that. Looks like I rolled a 9. But my modifier is going to be added to my attack. So I have a 5. I have a 5 here, and I'm going to subtract 1, which is 4. And then I'll look over at their mitigation score, which is 3, which means I only hit for 1. So this little minus really stunk, and I could have had, let's say if I had that, I would have had a lot higher. So I'm going to take this one that's green down to 19. Lord, we got a long way to go because that's 20. All right. They're done. We put this in here, and then the enemy goes. Now, the enemy... Red, all these enemies have some kind of ability, and they're trying to trigger it off. They're trying to do like their big special move. This one here, raging charge, it rushes a target in normal movement doing 6 base damage. So they're going to run, boom, try to knock me down. So this is the thing. Rich, it says immune to knockdown. So they're trying to run after me, boom. Well, guess what? You can't knock me down, but you can get 6 damage. Here we go. Yes, they did. And they got a crit, which is not good for me. Right? So it's not good for me. So they're going to have, when you do crit, you can't mitigate it. So this is going to be ugly. So this is 6, 7, and then that would take me all the way down to 1 because apparently I forgot to refill this. I'm going to go ahead and give myself 2 more points there. All right. So we're going to add 6 plus 1 is 7. Our mitigation is only 2. So then we would subtract that. And that's basically how you fight it back. Now I could roll for my mind here. If I roll less than 6, I could mitigate that completely, and then I would resist that. And you can do that once per scenario. So let's just say I resisted that. I get all that back, right? That's what I can do. It's like kind of a way to kind of combat the luck there of the rolls. All right, so now we're up here. I'm going to do something interesting instead. I'm going to wait it out a little bit here, but let's just say the last round what I did is I had this tool of the creator made. I spent a rule, and I'm going to spend another one. I'm going to tell you what it says. It says add 2 shock damage to a blunt weapon, which I have a fine mace. Shock damage may not be mitigated. Successful roll required. And then I spent an extra rule. It says require spirit 15 shock plus 4 shock damage. Here we go. All right, dude, I got an 8. That's awesome. So now I have this plus 4 kick butt weapon that I can use, and then my next turn I'll be able to just let loose on this thing. But I mean, that's just the general gist of what's going on in this game. It's very easy to get into, but there's like these little nuances in here that you can use to kind of, you know, combat that. And then you have, like I said, more stuff that you can add to it. So like, let's say I wanted to add this, I wanted to add battle armor. They all kind of have their version of this one, but the battle armor you can use. You also have, like I can do stealth in this game as well, because my character is kind of stealthy. And then I also had this magic kind of horse guy here that I was using. What was his really cool? He had like a whip. A summoning, a flame whip that does damage. I thought that was pretty interesting. So yeah, there's all these different types of enemies and things like that. I haven't pulled out all the enemies, but there's quite a few in this game and not a lot of minis. But I want to talk about the scenarios. After you complete a scenario, there may be a branching storyline right there on the page, but in between scenarios, and there's you know, different things that you'll pull for rewards and you'll add to your stats and things like that. But sometimes, I should even say this, they will be mitigated by afflictions. Sometimes you will get poisons and different fevers and stuff like that, or you'll get bonuses, and you'll put these little dice in here. Okay, they could be +1s and -1s. They could be -1 to all your stats for certain things, +1 to all your stats, and you'll have different antidotes that you can do to remove them. So if you have the jitters, it's -3 to your focus. If you have hardwood fever, it's -1 to all stat rolls. And what that's doing is it's affecting you until something else happens. So you got to watch out for these and use these tiny dice. All right, back to it though. In between missions, you have the chance to rest. You're going to shuffle this deck, right? And then you're going to flip over a card. Now, the thing is you need to decide who's going to rest, okay? Who's going to rest, or who's going to stay up, or all are you going to sleep? Because this deck has restful sleep, restless sleep, and then they also have ambush. So let's see what we get. We got restful sleep, wonderful. And what we're doing is just basically recovering. We're recovering health, we're recovering fatigue, all that stuff. Like we're recovering our fatigue, recovering health, things of that nature. Now, if I stayed up and this person rested, they would get those benefits. But why are we doing this? You know, why are we doing this? Well, we're doing this because we want to get rested up for future missions till maybe we get to a town or something like that. Then we have restless sleep, okay? So now we've been getting these a couple times, but you do shuffle these every time. But then you may once possibly get an ambush. And ambushes happen where the enemies attack you. While you're sleeping, and they get an advantage against you. But if you have someone on guard, then they have an opportunity to kind of be ready to go. It says if someone is on watch, the enemy may be placed anywhere with the current scenario. So if they're not, they're like right up on you and kicking your butt. So that's one of those interesting things that goes on. I have not seen certain elements of the game, so I really would like to share more with you about it and the world that's in it, but I got just a bite size of it. And the bite size part of this game that I liked so far is just that old school feel, but a lot of that new school touch that's on it. I'm a fan of Roll to Resolve, and I'm also a fan of bag pulling. Somewhat like Kenfire Chronicles that came out last year. I really like that one, and I like the element of this is in here, but also the fact that the fatigue here is a way to modify that so that you don't get stuck completely, and also having a way to re-roll so that you don't get destroyed, you actually have a chance of resisting. And I do have bandages and stuff like that to kind of help me with my health, but I like to know that there are a lot of options to deal with some of these hard roll results. But they have armor, they have invisibility. That's some of the stuff I just didn't show. But yes, Vrahode is definitely worth taking a look at, and believe me, the publisher has let me know that this has a very aggressive price. I don't know what that price is, but I'm assuming by the fact there's not a ton of miniatures in this game that it would probably be really will be an aggressive price. But I'll leave that up to you, because I can't tell you what to do with your money, and there are a lot of dungeon crawl adventure games coming out. So you go ahead and take a look at that. I just want to thank Weathervane Games for sponsoring this video. I'd like to thank you for your time. Hopefully I helped you make an informed backing decision. And with that, party people, you take care and have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me on MVM.